Hey, team players, welcome in here to another great episode. We're going to be doing a live draft here on Underdog, half PPR, because guess what? Underdog's letting us do these live drafts in the chaos that is day one of the NFL free agency. We're going to see where all these players land, where their changes are, what their new ADP is. Of course, we're going to be talking about takes as far as where they are, whether that's good fit, who's winning and losing in all these changes, and answering all of your questions during our live draft. And for you all watching on replay, 3:45 Eastern, Mondays and Wednesdays. So let's start this baby off. So, team players, you get me just manning the fort by myself here today. It's going to be an awesome and amazing experience. Let's make this thing happen as we got a brand new draft that's fresh to fire up here. We're going to be actually going in the middle of the draft, one of the things that Bob always tells you how much he loves. And I'm so excited for the day. I think it's going to be a great episode with all this chaos and turmoil that is going about. So, fire in your questions. You know how we do this here. And one of the things that you obviously got to start off with is the quarterback movement. So we look here today, Fields is a Jet, Darnold's in Seattle, and you're getting all these things. Basically, the only chips left to fall are Rodgers and Wilson as we're starting this draft off here. So trying to keep my eyes in about 6 different spots here as you see me. We got my draft board over here. We got the questions coming up here, and then I was trying to keep my ESPN clicker all well and good as we go along here. So super excited for the day. It is a great piece of craziness. And one of the things that I think will benefit in all of anytime you get new information is the overreaction hype train that happens. And I fully expect people to jump in too hard on some of these free agents that have moved around that, quite frankly, shouldn't be upgraded all that much. So we saw the other day, Metcalf is now a Steeler. That should not radically change his value. If anything, it should take him from what was a 5th round pick down lower to now maybe the 6th or the 7th. Like Metcalf without a quarterback in Pittsburgh should not be getting fantasy love. But as we start off here today, the basics of a best ball draft still do apply. You need to have a strong stable of running backs. You need to be able to get your stacks where you can get them. And most of all, you got to draft yourself the best roster and go off of value. One of the moves that happened over the weekend that I really absolutely love, and I'm going to be leaning into on this, is Davante Adams to the Rams. I told Bob the moment that happened, I want to draft my playoff best ball now, and I'm going Rams heavy. Rams are in a team where I look at this, I think they are absolutely stacked studs up and down. And as a result, if Puka is here on this board, which he is my dude. Guys, you are about to see a Ram stack without Kyren Williams on it, because I do believe that Kyren has a very good chance of getting shifted out. He is not as an elite running back. Certainly Corum isn't either. That both of which could lose their jobs to even a 3rd round or a 4th round running back. Someone like Martinez could come in and go into the Rams in a 3rd or 4th round pick and take out Kyren Williams' job. So again, I'm going to be building a Ram stack here without Kyren, because I'm going to be leaning on other running backs, mostly these rookies who I think are going to give a better position. But again, guys, I see a bunch of you logging in. Love to give shout outs. Set me up with what you guys want to know, because the day is absolutely crazy. And I appreciate you guys keep me up to date as we go along here with things that are moving that I'm not able to get because they're happening while I'm live here. One of the observations here is Genty already jumping into higher and higher in the 1st round. I think that that's something we're going to continue to see. You guys can watch from a couple of weeks ago. You're not going to see a lot of love for Christian McCaffrey on this show. Yes, we saw some of his lower end backups get picked up and moving away. I think it was Kansas City that picked up Mitchell, and that does not help McCaffrey. McCaffrey shouldn't be this high. He's a guy who should be dropping upon boards. It's just the way it is. But a running back I do absolutely love is Jonathan Taylor. He is the focal point of that offense. They have no quarterback. And again, I know you Richardson lovers out there will disagree with me with that. But Jonathan Taylor is one of the best pure runners in the NFL. And I really love what he brings to the table. I think he's going to just dominate here. And then for, again, the longtime watchers here, you guys know without Bob here to tell me no, there's some players that are just going to be on this roster. And Henderson is certainly going to be one of them, and Hampton's going to be the other. If I can get the second and third running backs that are going to be taken in the NFL draft, and I can get them both on my team, I am going to have a stacked lineup. Because the one thing that is true in every single draft, running backs usage as a rookie is very correlated to what you were going to get out of them in terms of their actual production on the field. So this is where I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to get one of my Rams guys, but in all probability, the Rams are not going to go Hampton here with their first pick, although that would be an amazing score for me. Probably a little bit too early to go with Devontae Adams at this spot, but I'm not going to be able to get Hampton and Adams in the same build if I don't take one of them here. And I don't want to force Hampton this early because I think it'll set the thing, but don't even worry about it. Devontae Adams going at the first pick of the third round. So, wow, you look at that pick off the bat. That's something that is just crazy and amazing. Where you just see how that go off right there. Much higher than I would have expected, and probably much higher than he should have gone. Going to talk today a little bit about Godwin going back home. It's already see reports that it's a hometown discount. The thing with Godwin is that dislocation he had destroyed his ligaments as well as the rest of it. But either way, I really like Mike Evans. I think that Evans there with Godwin next to him is still going to be stable, still going to be a good starting spot there. And as much as I love my running backs, and you all know I do, I got to go it here, try to get Hampton and Henderson on the comeback turns. And if it works out perfect, it's a great play. If not, I'm going to be kind of regretting I didn't take James Cook there. But building off a start, knowing I'm going Rams is absolutely fundamentally great thing. One of the things I do expect to happen is I do expect to see Fields fly up the board today. Now that people are going to also see that he's a starter, which he has been the whole time, people are going to want to jump on him earlier. I still think I can get Stafford after him, though. So that's going to be my build here. And a Baker Fields Stafford lineup to me doesn't look all that bad. As we started talking about how I like to stack up my picks here early in advance, it's going to be one of the things here. We obviously always need to keep track of the board next to me. I love seeing two quarterbacks go back to back. Hopefully that will start a run early because I don't go early quarterbacks. It's not one of the things I really find a lot of value in. You know, I can get Baker here super late and know that he's going to give me some decent value. I love it. Again, it gets me my two rookie running backs here early. Absolutely a great thing for me. One of the other things, the family, I know you're going to pop in and yell at me. I don't build a roster without Tyler Warren on it. He is one of the guys that, again, if he was a wide receiver, he would go incredibly high. So we look at all this stuff together. There's a lot of goodness going on here as far as where we're at today, the opening day of chaos. And dude, it's just so awesome. Yeah. Boss. So I started the show off with this about Metcalf. I actually think that until the Steelers proclaim a quarterback, I don't think it's a benefit for him. I think he should be dropping in value down the board. I really think he should be he was a fifth. I think he should be a sixth or a seventh, at least until the Steelers announce who their quarterback's going to be. Because right now you're looking at, if Rodgers comes to Pittsburgh, Rodgers only throws to his friends. And your two free agents remaining as we stand here are Russell Wilson and Rodgers. And the interviews over the last couple of weeks were, even though no one ever said this out loud, where the Steelers wanted to keep Fields, not Russ. So if they do get Aaron Rodgers, he's not a friend of Rodgers historically, and I don't see Rodgers changing as a person. I still see him only wanting to force it to the people that he knows and loves. Pittsburgh isn't going to do that for him. And I think as a result, if Rodgers comes, Metcalf gets treated like Garrett did last year. Not a whole lot of love for him. Um, a way more talented player than his production shows. So I don't necessarily love the idea of Metcalf and Rodgers together. What could help more would be Wilson coming back to Pittsburgh and reuniting that. But Allie, at this point, I got to say that I think it's a sit and hold. You're in a dynasty anyway. Don't overreact just on the first day. Wait till you get the full information and find out really who that quarterback is going to be. Because I think that you'll be in a much happier spot with it and get a better return. But I think Metcalf has a spot for doing something. Well, Garrett Wilson war. Yeah, I mean, Garrett Wilson with Rodgers did not work out well at all, man. It did not do good. He was a guy that we were down on the whole time. You guys can go back to my evidence that Garrett Wilson was almost set up for failure before the league even started last year. And there's no reason really to see that. So when we look as far as Metcalf, Rodgers to me should not be a quarterback in the NFL next year. I want to start off with that unbiased fact. He just shouldn't be. He's too much. It has to be all about him. It has to be more specifically his system. His system is dated and outused. The offensive minds of the West Coast system have evolved beyond Rodgers, and Rodgers has shown no propensity to want to grow up and step forward. And if he wants to be an old dog who doesn't want to learn new tricks, he shouldn't be in the league. However, there are 5 teams or at this point, 4 teams that need a quarterback and 3 quarterbacks left. So Rodgers is one of those 3. Someone's got to cut him a stupid check. And, Rodgers kind of shown he's a whore. So I do think that he will be back in the league when it's all said and done. I just don't think it will definitely be to the benefit at all of any of the players in which he ends up with. So that's one of the things there about Rodgers. As we focus in on this draft here explicitly, kind of going exactly the way that I wanted. I got Hampton and Henderson. I got myself set up for a nice little stack here with the Rams late. I wish I would have been able to get Devontae Adams. Didn't quite happen. But now as we turn here, we're going to be looking here downfield as starting to get some of these receivers on the radar. I'd love to get my starting lineup here fixed. Probably can go around maybe even 2 on getting Pickens, but on getting on Baker. But one person I do want to have, because now I'm wildly interested in this, being in Pittsburgh, is the George Pickens situation. They just gave Metcalf $30 million a year when you average it all out. They're not going to pay 2 receivers $30 million a year. George Pickens not getting paid will be a biblical disaster in Pittsburgh. And I wanted to pick him up because he's going to get moved somewhere else. And in general, when you move someone, you use them. So I wanted to see if I could get that stack. Obviously, it's not going to happen here. We're going to go to one of Bob's guys on the board. Another benefit of some earlier news or older news. This is going to be Ricky Parasol is going to be my pick here. He's set up perfectly to take over Debo's role. He's a first-round talent. I really like it. On that note of set up to take over other people's worlds, we saw Palmer from the Chargers get moved over to Buffalo today. One of those sneaky signings that Joshua Palmer has always been one of these guys who has been a great number 3. And Buffalo is kind of accumulating Coleman as a first-round pick, who should be an elite number 1. He's got all the traits to do it, but hasn't clicked with it. We got the tight end, who should be more elite than he is, but he was hurt last year. And the question is, will Joshua Palmer be a guy worth picking up? And quite frankly, if he's hanging out late for all these other late guys that are getting moved around, I wouldn't mind seeing it there. In fact, actually on DraftKings, he's not even updated as the move yet. So, and he's one of these guys who hasn't been drafted at all. So, which makes me want to just double check, make sure it was the right Palmer I read before going to Buffalo. Because that should be updated by now. Yeah, Joshua Palmer signed by Buffalo, confirmed here, 3 years, 36 million. So 12 million a year is not certainly breaking the bank type money, but it's certainly a value that's worth having. And he's certainly a guy worth throwing in here. He's going to get drafted opposed to a guy who wasn't getting drafted at all before. So we're going to see here a little bit of the quarterback starting to come up here. Looking at the board overall, I probably am going to go Baker here when it's all said and done. I think that trying to do the Baker Field Stafford gives the situation a good balance. And I do think that McMillan should drop as a result of that. I don't know how far he's going to drop. Kind of interested to find out where that is. But giving Godwin back to Baker, I think completely solidifies Baker as a very early season top end guy and probably a good fit while the rest of your quarterbacks settle in. And I think Stafford's going to give me an absolutely amazing floor throwing the ball to Devontae Adams and to Puka. This is the setup of Stafford growing on me has gone through the roof from the terms of the knowledge of the day. So as we look here, there goes the Hawk. Some of the tight ends are starting to slowly trickle out here. Like I said, it's been an absolute craziness that we see here. Is mid-afternoon, kind of the spot where you see some deals slow down. There was such a frenzy at noon. And here we go. The Niners extending Patrick Taylor. That might be bad news for the Mason play that I've been doing the whole time. But when you're the Niners, Mason was still their second best running back last year, and there is no way around that. Even if he goes to another roster, I still do think that Mason is going to be a player to keep your eye on and go from here. So I mentioned earlier that McMillan might slide. He's already sliding. His ADP was 80, and we're seeing obviously past 80 right now. Looking at the big board overall, McMillan has been the top player and glossed over a couple times, so he just went right there. So you see him drop about half a round when it's all said and done there for him. And I look at my roster right now. We got a starting roster filled with the exception of the tight end. And I do think that is one of the benefits of doing in best ball. I think that when you go too crazy down the road of getting too many of one position, you end up just hurting yourself overall. The position I was missing here was tight end. Obviously, Warren is my dude and a half. And, to be able to get him on the roster, I believe he's going to be better than what Bowers was last year. I know that's incredibly high praise, but he has all of the tools. He was the only person Penn State threw the ball to. And if he had a WR next to his name, he would be a top 5 pick in this draft. I think that Tyler Warren is an absolute stud in waiting. And I've said this many times, I would take him as early as the 4th round. He's to me one of the absolute best guys. And when we're looking at comparing as far as best players on the board, I don't want Pacheco, Stevenson. I don't want Travis Etienne, Charbonnet. Yeah, we're talking about guys that I'm going to get rookies later on in this draft that are going to outkick these guys, such as Tootin and Martinez will. So just looking at 3rd round, 4th round guys are going to give me better value than this. That's what I want to look at. Make sure I got them on my sideboard here, guys. As you all know, Bob and I strongly disagree as far as how to use the sideboard. I love preloading it up, kind of get a feel for what I'm about to put on this roster and really be able to visualize it. And right now, as I'm looking here, I'm seeing I got a lot of running backs that I'm loving here, but not a lot of receivers either on the board that I need to put on my roster or that I'm super excited about. So I look in situations like this of, all right, I need to start looking at receivers because ADP on guys is pretty far down. So some guys that haven't caught my eye that I do like. I do like Mims. I do like Travis Hunter. I know there's all this, the risk with Travis Hunter is what if he plays corner, Deion Sanders never really put up a whole bunch of great numbers as a receiver and as a corner. Look at the teams at the top. they are all starving for offensive needs. And I understand that corner is a harder position to fill than receiver because there are more receivers coming to the league. But this year's free agency is so much stronger than the receivers. I think that Warren or Hunter rather, when it's all said and done, is going to be a receiver. And the fact that he's slipping and I can get him in the next round is something that I love. Tyler Warren to the Colts, dude. Yeah, it's almost a guarantee that that's going to happen, George. And I'm okay with that. The simple fact is Richardson is not accurate. You give him a guy who's closer to the line of scrimmage, who can make you look a whole lot better, you can get 7 percentage points on your completion percentage just by giving the ball to a good tight end. And again, to me, he is an elite tight end in waiting already, should be anointed there. That's how much I'm on the Tyler Warren bus. So I know that he's with Richardson. I know Richardson presently stated is inaccurate, but he's also in an offensive system that wasn't playing to his needs. Pittman is not a separation guy. When he had his big fantasy year 2 years ago, it was all left to right and screen passes. Well, Richardson can't do a screen pass. He can't. His other option is chuck the ball 1.5 miles downfield to one of his speedy guys, normally a die or downs. And quite frankly, that isn't going to work for him either. So it became very apparent that you stop his legs, you stop the team. And I think that Tyler Warren is actually going to really open up that team, and he might open up that division. All right, might have got a little greedy on waiting on Travis Hunter there. But, again, Mims is one of these guys that I really liked how he ended the year with last year. We take a look around at now I'm on the board, best available. It's a guy I haven't taken a lot, but I said earlier, I really like the traits of Keon Coleman. The guy is huge. Give him a year kind of learning the NFL, maybe getting on board with Josh Allen a little bit. I really think that he's a guy who could pick it up. And I know if Bob was sitting here, he would be absolutely freaking out at me that I just made that pick. But the other part of this is I don't love the rookie receivers this year. So when you're looking at that reality, not loving the rookie receivers, I want to get more established guys. Give me the year 2 guys who didn't really catch fire but have a chance of catching on. You see, I already got Parasol in the lineup. And when we look here, I just see that as a potential moving forward that, give me the answer that someone's already there, done an off season, not going to hit a rookie wall, and can just sit down with the new highest paid quarterback in the NFL and Josh Allen. So I love all of that here. I look at the present running backs on the wall right now of the established NFL ones. Scatterboo is probably still going to get drafted higher than Toot, and he just goes right there. Devin Neal is kind of just a guy who's been sitting there. I think Tootin out explosives him. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Tootin 2 picks for now. Maybe I think I'll let him slide to 2 picks. And just going to be taking best available here. And you can make a solid argument about taking Goddard here. I'm going to play the risk game, and I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely. And the reason I'm going to go with Likely is because if Andrews gets moved, which, again, you don't have to become cap compliant until Wednesday at noon. There is a chance Andrews becomes a cut between now and then. If I can get Baltimore starting tight end, that is a major win. And that puts me done at tight end, by the way. So with Isaiah Likely and Warren, I'll be done at tight end. Maybe I'll throw a late one throw-in guy just to make sure I don't get by-screwed. But I really like Isaiah Likely as a guy to come on moving forward here. First off, he already was coming on, as we saw last year. He had some moments where he splashed in some big games. And I don't really need him to be a super floor guy. I think Warren will be a floor guy. So if you look at this and go, if Andrews get moved, Likely slots in that place, I basically just got 2 8th-round players, and I got one of them in the 11th round. So this is one of the ways that I look at best ball drafts a little bit differently than most do. But I think it's one of the things to look for and really get tremendous benefit as you grow and make some success happen. So Loveland and everything I just said about Warren is going to seem a little counter. Like, why don't you feel that way about Loveland? Because in general, rookie tight ends do not develop. You have to already be an extremely polished player. Some of the tight ends that we're going to see going off here, Andrews did nothing as a rookie. Hawk, nothing. Kittle, nothing. Laporta, maybe an exception to that. But that took till really late. It's not going to help you in a best ball. Rookies are very hard to do anything their rookie year. McBride was the first rookie off the board, went in the second round, about where Loveland's going to go, and did absolutely nothing his first year. So I do not want to go on any of the other rookie tight ends except for Warren, knowing how late their development curve is. One of the things that Bob and I have hit on a couple of times is the perceived problem that Arizona keeps portraying, then their loyalty to their current running back room, particularly with Connor. And I don't see that being something that's going to work out. But if they do hold true to their word, Trey Benson is an amazing pick. If they don't draft a running back, Benson is probably a starter come Halloween. And that's an amazing thing to have in your best ball pocket moving forward going through this. And again, you take your guys if you don't think they're going to slide back to you. I do not think that Tootin's going to come back to me at 150. That's his current ADP. And I really, really love him as a prospect. Tootin is an absolute electric player. He is a home run hitter. He catches the ball fairly decently. The knock on Tootin is his size and his fumbles. Dude is little. There's no way around that. But so is Rico Dowdle, who went the pick right before him. And if you get someone who is electric in a league where everyone is playing cover 2 and not letting you throw the ball over the top, getting a top end speeder is a way to move forward. I do believe the Saquon effect is going to rock the NFL. And because of that, getting Henderson and Tootin, two of the fastest running backs in this draft, are really going to go far in my estimation. Now, my next pick here is going to be Fields. Again, this is definitely taking him around ahead of his ADP, but this is going out the fact he just got signed today. I think people are going to overjump him, and I want to be on a spot where he's on my team. Nothing to do with his receiving core, because I know he's going to be running for his life. 2 different Jets starting offensive linemen departed New York today. Fields is going to be running. Fields is once again going to be learning a new offensive system. He's never had the same offense coordinator in his career. And this guy on the turn has plucked him from me again. If you are watching as the turn, I will give you no hate. I just want to know, because this is about the second or third time you have spoken one of my guys right off there off the turn. But again, goes back to the concept. If you're not going to be able to get your guy back to you, you got to take him now. He certainly wasn't going to come back to him at his pick of 13. Does put me in a little quandary now for quarterbacks, though. So I do want Stafford on this roster. I do like Tua, but I have no Miami guys on this team. And as I look as far as stackable guys, yes, I have Baker build, and yes, I'm going to put Stafford on this roster. Tua can give you another floor, and then you can just be done with floors. That's a viable argument. But if Bob were sitting here next to me, he'd be yelling it's because I'm obsessed with Stafford already, and that would be the problem. But when I look at the receivers here that I'm fighting with Tua about, Cedric Tillman, no, because I have no idea who. If Watson's there, Tillman's useless. Do I want to go with Whittington? Whittington's probably the right pick going through this overall, because Whittington now would give me the third and second receiver out in the Rams. It totally telegraphs I'll be taking Stafford. But it gives me a pot. And because I'm going to put Whittington on this roster, and this is one of the benefits of already having your queue lined up, now I know I got to take Stafford the pick earlier, or else I won't get both. And I do like Whittington's game on this roster because Kupp is getting moved. And if I can get two of the top three of what is probably going to be a top 5 passing offense this year and their quarterback, that's basically the same thing as getting Tua. So that's why the argument there for taking Stafford has occurred. I really like where the Rams are at. I mean, you put Devontae Adams out there with Puka, Stafford's going to have an absolute laser show, and Jordan Whittington is going to be only fighting against their tight end for catches, and I think Whittington's going to blow that out of the water. It's already a 3 receiver front 9 times out of 10, and I really like Whittington to be one of the guys in the mix here, and he will be my next pick. I think Devontae Adams will tremendously help his on-field performance. But you see, as a result, no one has taken Tua, and Tua has been a guy who's been sliding for a while. Richardson is kind of a wild card. It all depends on how much legs you want. But I do not like the team 1 quarterback room, by the way. I've never liked Caleb Williams. Him going in the 8th round is an absolutely wasted pick. Fields makes sense because his legs can carry you and win you a week by his legs by themselves. But I'm not liking team number 1 build in its totality over there. And by the way, guys, fire out your questions as you've been watching here. Most team players here stay a long time, and I love that about you all. Make sure you guys always click like and subscribe. But we go live same time every week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 3:45. So here we go. Going down, looking at my roster right here, given all of the change, just to give a quick review of it. Your quarterbacks are Baker and Stafford. Your running backs, JT, Omari and Hampton, who's going to go in the first round, Travion Henderson, who might also go in the first round, and Tootin, who's one of the fastest running backs in this draft. I think all 3 of them are going to be great starters. Receiving room, I think it's in a great spot. Puka, Evans, Pearsall, Mims, Coleman, and Whittington. You see a little bit of a blend there of already proven it guys with Evans and Puka. You see guys who have amazing situations that they can step into with Coleman's, Pearsall, and Mims. And let's face it, we're at the spot where we're starting to draft the number 3 on their teams, and that's where Whittington comes into play on what could be the best passing offense. I'm obsessed with Tyler Warren, and Isaiah likely has a chance of being the number 1 all year in Baltimore. So you add this all up, I'm really loving where this team is at. It's got a lot of great juice, and now it's time to just start picking out the value plays that people are overlooking. And there are a number of them out there that are still on this board. Next pick is going to be up here. It's going to be, for me, it's going to be 175. And I'm going to be taking a running back that I've mentioned here a couple of different times and ways today. Unless Jalen Wright is still on the board, which I doubt he will be, I'm going to be taking a little paranoia here that you guys might be watching here, number 1. Well, giving away my next running back here coming around. But even if you look at team number 1 pick, this has to be a receiver for him. As sure, he had a top of studs early, but he really has gotten no one since then. Problem is that this receiver neighborhood is not sexy. Isaiah Bond, again, rookie receivers are so hit or miss. Especially the ones that don't go immediately up top. The ones that go in the early first round, they're going to be studs. But the rest of them are, I don't really know if I want to invest there. So my pick coming around here where I'm going to go with is going to be Jordan Mason. Again, I still see him as the everyday starter in the league as a 1 by himself. If he's in San Francisco, McCaffrey's going to the slot. And Mason would get all the carries. I just love that setup for him. I think it's an absolute great spot for him here, guys. So is there anyone of you guys watching it that you want me to talk about that I haven't gotten to yet? Obviously, this is a big movement day. A lot of different things happening in the league today. And a lot of different moves that are going under the radar here. We're seeing a couple D linemen just popping off on ESPN's big board for who has just gotten signed here off the Hicks here. Let me just do a quick little scroll through here and read you guys. As I wasn't kidding, we're doing this live in the first day of free agency. So a couple of defensive linemen move, chin moves, and then that's the most recent ones. One of the cool parts is in the afternoon, people do slow down. That is a fact of life. So I said this roster here is shaping up might be the most my team I've ever wanted it to be. Even looking at the sets of it here, we don't have a third quarterback. So it might be too late for that ship, quite frankly, because I will not take Javion Sanders. I do know Russell Wilson's probably going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Probably will throw him in just to have the body. But part of this is none of these guys are super exciting to me. So I'm not really excited to jump in line. So it might be one of these things that I just let it slide and use my last pick on a rookie that I'm really high on. I think that might be the better play anyway. So we're sitting around here, quarterbacks aside, not a super awesome part of this draft. You're looking at Thielen, Garendo, a bunch of rookies that aren't going to be drafted super high. So now their value should be diminishing. Maybe it's time to go out and man, this is a dead spot in the draft. Obviously, I know it's the 16th round. It's what happens. I think I might push the trend here a little bit. Might be a little bit too early for this, but Joshua Palmer as a Bill is so incredibly intriguing to me. And I don't want him to not get drafted, because with this knowledge of him being realistically the potential number 2 on the Bills, to get him in the 16th round is a steal. I know that draft purists out there might say I should let him slide, but again, you do not sign people not to use them. And you don't sign people to 3-year deals and cut them at camp. You just can't. So Joshua Palmer now as a Bill is a guy that I'm very high on. I do have 2 Bills on this roster. Don't have Kincaid, obviously, but that's one of the things that I just really love his situation. Damian Martinez is a rookie that I really like. I'm going to take him slightly past his notch of ADP, mostly because there's a couple glut of running backs in front of them, and I looked at everyone to the left of me in this draft board. They're in need of receivers more than running backs. And as you see it, only now I say this is guy number 1 is going to take 6 running backs, but as you see this here, I don't think they're going to go through the glut. I expect to see a lot of orange come back my way, as that's really what these guys are in need of. And if I can get Damian Martinez here with this pick, I think it's a great spot. Bob and I had an interesting conversation about Sean Tucker earlier last week. And the thing with Sean Tucker is that do you really want to have a guy who couldn't beat out White, who everyone knew was shot, who couldn't beat him out and basically only had 3/4 of goodness? And if I'm Tampa Bay, I don't want to rely on that. I'm drafting someone, and basically how deep this draft is a running back, a 7th rounder should be able to beat out Sean Tucker. And that really sucks that he just went there. One thing with Baltimore is Baltimore has a ton of needs, especially rebuilding that offensive line. I do think there's a very good chance that Justice Hill is still their number 2 next year, just for the simple fact that Justice Hill is talented, does catch the ball. And when you're talking about a best ball situation, I only really need him to go off 1 week. Justice Hill can give you that 1 week of going off. So let's look down our rookie list. There was a guy that we really loved. I'm blank on his name from last week. He went crazy in the draft. And there are 2 picks left. See if I can remember his name going through. You guys who watched us last week, please let me know. It was Deontay Thornton. That's him. Guy ran out of the building. He's 6'5", just an absolute stud. Probably not going to do anything as a rookie in terms of fantasy football. But he's one of these guys I'm really eyeing, especially in my own personal keeper leagues, because you don't see that height and speed very often. If he gets in a situation where he can truly gel, it could be magnificent. But again, that's more for my keeper and thinking about him developing as a 2nd-year guy. But again, traits are traits. And if you can catch lightning in a bottle in the first year, especially in the 19th round or 18th or 19th round of a draft, you do that. But one of the guys that I'm going to take right now, that because he shouldn't be on the board anymore, is the iOS in Cincinnati. The operating system has just been dude, that guy needs to be on teams. Talk about Cincinnati's clear and defined number 3 receiver next year. Bengals are another team that's going to be slinging it around. And you've seen, I started taking number 3 receivers in the 14th round. That's about where the iOS should have went. So unless there's something I don't know about him, guys, please let me know if there is. He get arrested or something. That guy should be going much higher than the 18th round. All right, family, shooting out a question at us here. Would you deal an early 2026 second round pick for Davante Adams as a Ram? Absolutely. The Rams, instant NFC favorites for me. That to me is one of the best offseason signings that they could have done. I think that this is McVay really leaning into the simple fact that they're better when they let Stafford roll the bus. And I think that Adams is going to take the need for the fact that, let's face it, Williams is not the most talented running back. He's a situational dominant running back, but he is not the best one out there. And I really do believe a guy like Damian Martinez could take his job. When I built this roster in the beginning, I thought I was going to get Martinez here. I was ended up being one pick away when I built this, but I got Puka, I got Stafford, and I got Whittington. I think the Rams are going to go crazy in their passing game, family. So absolutely, getting Davante Adams on your roster, even if you're not going to start him, because he's going to start off hot. That's one of the things with the vets. They start off hot in the new system. You might be able to turn him into a number 1. So effectively, you would have traded a second-round pick for a first-round pick with a Davante Adams in the middle. It's a strategy I absolutely love and would definitely recommend to do, because he's certainly going to outkick that coverage of a 2-year from now second-round pick all day, every day. People are so caught into the now of give me the shiny thing. And when you are in week 4 and you're benching a guy who's putting up 15 points a week, someone will overpay thinking they're a contender in that moment. That's just part of every fantasy league, but seems to happen very hard in dynasties. So that's certainly a direction that I would want to recommend for you there. Well, when we come around here, Thornton will be my pick. There is no doubt about that. Like I said, guys, I really love this team that I constructed here. I know it only has 2 tight ends on it, but I'm okay with that. So high on Tyler Warren. I know there's a lot of injury risk exposure there, but so high on Tyler Warren. Couldn't pass up on the iOS. 2 really good floor quarterbacks in Mayfield and Stafford. And, looking at the rest of the quarterback market, you can say that, hey, maybe I should be looking at one of those or a tight end. But again, you can't pass up the traits of Deontay Thornton. I mean, they're just so there. They're so crazy powerful. I really like the direction he's going. And then the final pick, as much as I love Shook, he's probably not starting as a rookie. I think that I think he could win out a spot. Much like a Penix, I think is probably the route he goes. But I also don't see Cousins starting very long either. And I don't want to if I'm going to take a rookie, it's going to be Shook. So maybe this pick is just going Chig, just kind of punting, maybe Stenton, or Stennett rather. Although I think Bob makes a very valid point about how having Stennett there does handicap by Debo in the house. I just think that's a very real reality of the situation. They're going to be running similar routes, and Debo's going to run them better. So, yeah, this pick might be Chig. I just might go Chig and call it a day. Oh, no, it's not. There he goes again. So, oh, man. It's got ugly fast, didn't it? Oh, here's a good one. With everyone leaving Seattle, Noah Fant might be the number 2 target up there. And to get him this late in the draft might be worth poaching. We'll throw some Noah Fant in here, keep it a little spicy. That's how we'll end this draft off. So only 2 quarterbacks going to go today. But again, with it being Baker and Stafford, totally fine with that. Totally decent floors. We obviously have both of them stacked. Baker is stacked with Mike Evans. Stafford is stacked with both Puka and Whittington. Our running back room being JT, Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, and then Tootin, all three of those being rookie. Jordan Mason and Justice Hill round out my running back room. The other receivers I have are Ricky Parasol, Marvin Mims, Keon Coleman, Palmer, so 2 Bills there. The iOS and Thornton, tight ends being Warren, Likely, and Fant. So that was the roster of how we built that out there. Best Ball on Call, welcome to the team. Love your show over there, by the way, my man. Good stuff you're doing. But yeah, Mason's one of those guys that we like having on the roster. I really do think that he's going to be, I think he's going to be the starter at one of the teams, if not in San Francisco. The guy just was on pace for 1,400 yards. You don't put that kind of production and not use it. No one in the NFL is not going to use him when a push comes to shove. So that's where we're at here with this one, guys. This is an absolutely fantastic draft. You see a couple of guys moved around, some of which was me causing the action, such as Palmer 2 days ago wasn't even drafted, taking him in the 16th round. But again, if you can give me a top 3 receiver on Buffalo, I will take that all day, every day. There's a chance he jumps Shakur. So with the iOS being the number 3 in Cincinnati, that guy should be nowhere near there. I think I got a lot of good value at the end. But looking at this, really no reaches, with the exception of what you could argue at this moment in time is Hampton and Henderson. Guarantee both are going in the 2nd or the 3rd round come August, because they are guys who are going to be the number 1 running backs featured on their team. Parasol, like I said, it's just set up to be an elite guy on his roster as well. Baker, Warren. I love having the full starting roster filled in the first 8 pots. It is a competitive advantage over those who wait, just for the simple fact that no matter who else is out there, because they overstack their bench, I'm going to have a positional advantage over all their starters. Guys, we're going to wrap this one up a little bit earlier today because Bob isn't here. Absolutely fantastic. Going to leave you guys with something we got coming down the pike here. Let me know if you guys are interested in, because this is something we want to let all team players give their input about. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Watch this and let me know if you guys are interested. Hey, team players, let me announce an amazing thing that's going to be coming down the pike here. A fantasy football cruise. You're going to get all the big stuff. The +1, the balcony room, the all-you-can-eat, premium deluxe package for beverage, great destinations we're going to, and for the days at sea, a breakdown of every single NFL team with 2 big money buy-in drafts. What we're asking from you is 2 things. First, would you be interested in wanting to be a part of it? And second, who are the other guest speakers we should be inviting on to break down the teams and doing the draft with us? Team players, we'd love to see you at sea, and welcome aboard to our fantasy football cruise hosted by Elite Business Cruises.